Welcome to Oxbridge Preparation Programme at MPW. In our school, any student wishing to apply for Oxbridge is welcome to join the programme. We know that the journey could be rather complex and stressful, so we want our students to enjoy it and make sure that they have done everything they possibly could when they go into the interview room, knowing that they've done the best job possible. Today, we have Dr. Underwood, one of our tutors on Oxbridge Preparation Programme, and Alfie, one of our students, discussing the programme and Oxbridge application process itself. I hope you enjoy watching it.
So the first question is, what would you say the Oxbridge admissions tutors are looking for? Is there a specific type of student they're looking for, and also what type of students do well at Oxbridge?
Well, hopefully they're looking for the students who will do well, and so they should be the same students. We're not looking for excessive confidence, we're not looking for something absolutely polished, but what people look for at Oxford and Cambridge are students who are genuinely passionate about their subject, who have done very well at their pre-university exams, and are doing well at A-level or whatever exams they take, and people who are able to solve problems and think creatively. And that's often what will come up at interview, is testing and seeing how people think on their feet and respond to an idea or respond to something that they're asked to discuss. And lastly, I suppose, students who are self-didactic, who can teach themselves. That doesn't mean you won't be supported well at Oxford and Cambridge. You will be very well supported, but we're looking for students who can take themselves forward that extra part as well. So tell me, how did you find the Oxbridge application process, the interview process, the admissions process? Was it stressful? Was it simple for you? How did it go?
Yeah, I think it would be sugarcoating it a bit to say it wasn't stressful. It can be at times stressful because it's the unknown. You don't know what's going on. It's a lot of new information to take on. But I think in a weird way, it's quite enjoyable because you're writing and talking about things that you're, as you said, passionate about, the things that you enjoy, and then hopefully you get to an interview where you're able to talk about those things with other people who feel the same way. So it can be stressful. And also at the start of year 13 as well, it's a stressful time anyway, getting ready for exams. But I think it's a thing which, if done in the right way, can be quite enjoyable. And as long as you give yourself over to it, then you're going to be absolutely fine. So with the interviews, what advice would you give in preparing? And actually, is it possible to prepare for the interview?
I think the answer to that is yes and no. And why I put it that way is this. The biggest preparation for the interview is loving your subject, knowing your subject, and knowing why you want to go to university. Because then, whatever comes up, even if it's a challenge or something unfamiliar, you've kind of got that background and the enthusiasm to solve it in the interview. And if you're genuinely committed to university, and specifically to Cambridge or Oxford University, that will come across. So in a way, there's that long-term preparation, which is simply enjoying your A-levels or whichever exams you're taking, being passionate about them, reading around the subject, and just walking in there as someone who's enthusiastic and beginning to be knowledgeable about the subject. I do want to stress beginning, because we're not expecting experts, we're expecting people who can become experts. The yes part of you can prepare is, I do think interview preparation is useful. It's interesting how unfamiliar just sitting in the room across from one other person talking about your subject can feel. So doing that is useful, doing fun tasks, getting your critical thinking going, thinking about why perhaps you love your subject or what's interesting about your subject. And I think all that comes across on the interview preparation done at MPW. But also don't expect to walk in knowing every question and having a standard answer. The whole point of the interview process is it's designed to surprise you a bit. so it won't quite work. And two, you want to come across as yourself. And if yourself is passionate and committed about your subject, you'll come across well. So that would be my response. But how did you find preparing for interview? How did that go for you?
Yeah, I totally, I think what you're saying, the no part, is totally correct. Of you can't second guess what they're gonna ask you, because as you said, that's the whole point. So especially with the program here, you're guided through the process. You get to practice that unfamiliar situation of sitting across from someone, so you can go into the interview relaxed and able to think in that creative way that they're looking for. So yeah, there's sort of ways to prepare, but they almost do themselves for themselves, because it's just what you want to be talking about anyway. So yeah, totally agree.
So it's in a way, the preparation is about getting you in the mindset ready for the interview, rather than preparing you for the actual interview, which will always catch you by surprise.
Exactly.
But should be enjoyable. It's supposed to be a challenging but enjoyable process.
So what advice would you give to people writing their personal statements? Is there certain things they should focus on, or certain things the tutors are looking for?
There are things that people are looking for, that whoever reads it will look for. However, I think it's important, a little bit like what we just said about the interview, not to feel you have to squeeze it into a very precise box. The first thing, it has to be authentic and personal. I think it's possible that bits of your personal statement might be approached in interview. It's possible that they're not. But it's either way, it sets up the thinking process for the interview. So things that we'd like to see, or that whoever reads it would like to see, and this is true of all universities, so it's worth bearing in mind, although Oxford and Cambridge interview, all universities will look at the personal statement, is a little sense of who you are as a person. So the things that you've done in your life, the things you're passionate about, but very much focused on the subject, why you love that subject, what got you into that subject, what you love most about that subject. It might be something you studied at A-level, or an essay you're particularly proud of, but it might equally be a book, a novel, a film, a documentary that inspired you and interested you. And then where you want to go with that subject, why you want to take that degree, why you'll be an interesting student to teach in a way. But do always make it authentic, and do always make it in your voice and about you as a person. Don't try too hard to squeeze it into a box of a checklist. How did you find writing one, and did it set you up for the interview, or how did that go?
Yeah, I think again, you're writing about stuff that you're interested in. You're writing about things that you enjoy doing, or you have previously enjoyed doing. So I think it's tough, but only because of like deadlines. I think it's an enjoyable process if you have everything organised, have everything ready. And yeah, as you said, it has to be exactly what it says, personal. It has to be. I think the best advice I was given was, if you were given to your friends 500 personal statements, they should be able to easily pick out which one's yours. So yeah, I mean, and then linking into the interview, I think, so it's a bit give or take whether it'll actually come up in your interview at Oxbridge. So my interviewers didn't talk about it at all, but the vast majority of my preparation for the interview was just going over my personal statement, going over everything that I talked about, because then you're in the headspace of thinking about those things back into sort of the books or the essays that you've read or written, just to get into that headspace of thinking in that way, and then just tiny things they might pick up that you can then link back to your personal statement. So it's definitely helpful, but then the writing process doesn't have to be stressful. You can make it enjoyable and just get creative with it, I guess.
So tell me, how was the application and admissions process, the whole long process? And also, how did you prepare yourself? What did you do in terms of researching the course, the colleges, as you went along?
Yeah, so I think researching the course and colleges, there's so much information everywhere. For the courses, there's obviously the homepage on the Oxbridge or Cambridge website, with lots of information about it, lots of first-person student experience. So you're sort of spoiled for information on that, so which will help you make an informed choice. And then with the colleges, again, there's so much information from the uni itself, from other people, and I think it's really important to find a college, if you do apply specifically to one college, to find a place that you feel like you're going to fit in, because each one is different, each one's different and offers a different thing, offers different courses. So yeah, I think the college I applied for it because I sort of felt like I aligned with their way of doing things, their sort of ethos, and yeah, that was important to me. Also, making an open application, if that's a thing that you're not worried about, is also a good thing to do, because then that bit gets done for you. And then the admissions process as a whole, it's long but extremely rewarding at every step, no matter what step you go to. I mean, I think one thing that I was told here, just getting the personal statement done in itself is a massive achievement, because it can be demanding at times. But yeah, the more you go through it, the more you sort of get into it. There's admissions tests, interviews, so it's a long process, but yeah, if you throw yourself into it completely, it's very rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what are the admissions tests and why are they there?
Okay, I mean, that's actually quite a complicated network of things. There's specific tests for subjects like maths, economics. That's not an exhaustive list. There's the possibility to set multiple stages to the interview with tests on the day or short events, and that is a college and a faculty or subject decision. So it can vary from college to college, subject to subject. And one of the things students need to do is research this and make sure they're aware of the process for their college and their subject. Why are they there? I think the simple answer is because Cambridge and Oxford, just as with every university, wants the best students. And the best way to assess that is multidimensionally. Someone might be confident at an interview, but not perform quite so well in some other aspect. Someone might be a bit nervous at interview, but really blow you away with what they do with another stage in the process. So therefore, it's really to have a multi-dimensional understanding of the student. As you've said, it should be enjoyable, it should be interesting. I think also implied within that though, and it is the idea that we want students who self-research and build their own knowledge base about everything in life. And that includes understanding the college and the course. The universities are public institutions. Academics are public people in a way. We publish, we make little YouTube videos, we usually have a public profile out there. And what we're looking for is students who will find out about that, who'll do that extra bit of research, who know what they're getting into and why they've chosen that course, that college, that university. And again, that's one of those things that's certainly true of Oxford and Cambridge, but really true of any university that someone's applying to. It's always worth researching the course, researching the lecturers, their names will be up there, and finding out their background, their context, and if you're really confident you want to commit 3 years of your life to that. So tell me, for your psychology application, how many stages were there? What exactly did you have to go through and when you applied for your place at Cambridge?
It can be quite a lengthy process. So I had obviously sending off the personal statement and the whole UCAS application. Then you get asked to, from my college specifically, a thinking skills assessment, and then so that's 2 separate essays that you have to write under exam conditions. And then after that, you're waiting to find out if you've been offered the interview. Then obviously the interview, which for me was 1 essay, 1 interview, where the essay sort of plays into the interview, and then another essay, another interview, and then obviously you're waiting at that point to find out your final fate, I guess. Is that normal? Is that like a normal process, or is there a standard process for applying?
The short answer is there isn't a fixed and standard process across every college and every course. That's not unusual. It's quite a lengthy process, but it's not unusual. And I think this is one of the important things to bear in mind that as you go through the Cambridge or Oxford process, is it's likely to be long, it's likely to have multiple stages. People will often talk about their application, the interview, and actually you've had 2 interviews, or the test, and you've had multiple forms of being assessed. And that's how the process works. But I think rather than being intimidated by it, it's important to see that as a positive. It means you are being assessed in everything that you are. I would say a single interview where that's everything rests on there is probably actually more high pressure. And actually, if one part you don't perform so well at, you might perform better on another part. And it's this idea of assessing people in a multi-dimensional way. So it's not unusual, but for future candidates, one thing I would say is don't find that intimidating to hear about a long process like the one you went through. It's there to understand who you are and to make sure you come across the best you can. So what advice would you have for future candidates applying to Oxford and Cambridge, or even just to university generally from MPW?
Yeah, I mean, at risk of sounding super sort of reductive, it's just enjoy it. I know it's super easy for me to say now, but if you want it to be, it can be an enjoyable process, and you're just for like a month and a half talking about things that you're interested in. So I think, especially with Oxbridge, it's really hard to not just see it as that, because you've got sort of the net. Well, no, any university, you've got the name of the university and the pressure of that comes with it, sort of looming over you the whole time. But I think as long as you see it as just talking about things that you like, basically, for a bit of time, then you're able to relax and find it quite enjoyable. And I mean, here with the programme, you've got the support you need. There's always a place to check back. So there's no reason. I know it's like easier said than done, but there's no reason that you should be stressed. You just throw yourself into it, do it, and whatever happens, happens. And you should be proud of yourself for getting through it. What advice would you have for future applicants?
I think very similar. I think an important thing is don't separate the whole Oxbridge process or university process from simply studying, enjoying your subject and becoming a knowledgeable and widely read person. Because actually, that's stuff that goes on which you might not even think of as Oxford or Cambridge preparation. Reading new novels, watching documentaries, working hard, that's all part of Oxford Cambridge preparation. Do prepare specifically, but prepare in a fun way. Engage with just teaching yourself to think flexibly. And I think these 2 statements aren't contradictions. Be bold enough to apply for Oxford or Cambridge, but part of being bold enough is also recognising the other excellent universities there are out there, because it takes some pressure off the Oxford or Cambridge application. You say, I'm going to put in my Oxford or Cambridge application, but actually Manchester or London or Reading or Exeter or wherever are excellent places too. That actually takes a little bit of the pressure off, and it makes you more likely to succeed on the Cambridge or Oxford application, ironically. So I think be bold enough to throw it in there and go through the process and enjoy it, but don't make it feel too high stakes in your mind. There's a network of over 100 great universities in the UK, and all of them will lead you to a really good future experience, just each one a different one.
I think I remember you saying to me in the process as well, the admissions process is as much you getting to know them as it is them getting to know you. And I think that's a really important thing of not putting all your eggs in one basket and relying on Manchester, Cambridge, and not setting your heart on one place, because you're going to have an amazing time wherever you go, and
I think that's really true.
It allows you to go through it just sort of breezing through it a bit, being relaxed and just doing each part as it comes. But yeah, I totally agree.